Hi, I'm Joanne Dicknair, Meemaw, with It's Storytime, Meemaw, an answered prayer for stories that point children to God on the Truth Network for Kids. Your chosen Truth Network podcast is starting in just a few seconds. Enjoy it, share it, but most of all, thank you for listening to the Truth Podcast Network.
This is the Truth Network.
Coming to you from an entrenched barricade deep in the heart of central North Carolina. Masculine Journey After Hours. A time to go deeper and be more transparent on the topic covered on this week's broadcast. So sit back and join us on this adventure. The Masculine Journey After Hours starts here now.
Welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. And when we left, we were talking about some of Wayne's story, and we're going to get back to that here in just a second. But first, Robbie, we have an entrenchment coming up.
We
right?
do.
So, and the most important part about the entrenchment is what?
It's Free. Free.
It is free, right? The only thing that we ask is that you bring a donation for the food so that the church is not out, all the money for the food. They're providing food for us. That's coming up sometime, September 30th and October 1st.
Correct. It's a Friday evening, so you don't have to take any time off for work. You can go out there Friday night, and then you're Saturday. We got several talks. It's going to be an awesome taste of what the boot camp is. It's just an unbelievable opportunity. And did we mention that it's FREE free?
Yeah, I thought you were going to throw another E in there for a minute, and it's going to be even more free. But the one thing to keep in mind,
free freedom. If you think about it,
it is. It is free freedom, and you will find some freedom there. I'm pretty sure if you enter into it with God. It's hard to enter into a space with God and not find some freedom along the way. Right? That's usually the outcome. But there is also, you don't stay overnight at this event. So it's one where you'll have to get a place locally, which good luck in Reedsville. There's a couple hotels, but or go camping. I think some of the guys are going to go camping that are coming. Drive back to Greensboro is not that far away. Danville's not that far away.
Yeah, and all you got to do is go to masculinejourney.org and you email that one. You'll see you click the link to email the pastor. But also, if you're interested in camping and you want to do that with Jim and his group up there, by all means, just email any of us, Sam at Masculine Journey, Robbie at Masculine Journey, any of us, and tell us what you're interested in. We'll get you fixed up. And that too, the camping, from what I understand, is FREE free.
As far as I know.
Yeah. And
do not email Jim. Just because we'll have to tell him how to get to his email again. It'll be really tough. We won't know that he has it. So, and if when he's listening to this, he'll know that it's true. That it's not. I'm just picking on him. That's kind of how it goes. We're all got our strengths. That's just not one of them. But anyway, we do miss Jim. Jim's not with us this week.
We've officially picked on him now.
We have picked on him, and so that.
And we did, the unholy trinity, the flesh, the old Jim, and the devil.
Yeah.
But we have even older than that, Sam.
We do. Yeah. We're talking off the air. The flesh looks at Harold and says, "Hello, sir. You're a little older than me." But anyway, Wayne, when we left, we were talking a little bit about your story, and so we played a clip from Doctor Strange, right? And you want to kind of just hit the nuts and bolts of that and then kind of share a little bit more of your story?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, want to encourage anyone who didn't hear that to go back and listen to that first show. But it basically, Dr. Strange and the guru were having a conversation. She laid it out that, it's not about you. The kingdom, and whenever I originally heard that, it was when I was searching out the kingdom of heaven, and it was like the Lord saying, that it's not about me. And it was at a point where, again, he's teaching me to love on others, but the gist of the self part there was, she basically laid it out that because of his fear of failure, he was great, but he wasn't as good as he could have been, and it kind of pointed back to my life, and if anybody's followed my story, on the show, they know that after being out of work for a while and then getting a new job in January, dream job, awesome job, admittedly, I was scared to death because I'd been out of IT for 2 years. It's just been really hard getting back into it, and a lot of that was the enemy. A lot of that was the enemy coming at me and driving me back to some things from my past. The old man fighting and trying to bring back some things, and allowed that to win over for a while. But God used it to do a lot of awesome things in my life over the last month, where He's shown me that on our own we can't stand. It doesn't matter how good, how righteous we think we are. It's only in Christ that we stand. It's only in His image. It's only because of His sacrifice that we can stand before Almighty Holy God. That our own righteousness is just it's nothing. It's He says it's crap. It's poop, for lack of a better term. But He used it for good. He started to heal things. He started to show me some things with my own dad, in the way that I still had a lot of bitterness towards him, and correcting me in the way that I saw that and the way that I thought about him, to the point now where it's renewed a love for my dad, and now I'm starting to see the good things, the good things from my life with him, and able to pray for him in a totally different light. And even so much so with everyone around me, I've got this newfound compassion. Like he's taking me through a compassion for others. And we were talking about some things at dinner tonight, and while y'all were talking about them, but God loves them too. Mm-hmm. He loves them too, and it's the reality of the Lord loves us, no matter where we are, no matter where we stand.
Thank you. Andy, you actually have the first clip of this show.
Okay. Yeah, this is from the Breakup, and it kind of goes along with what Wayne was talking about there. It gets more to the old man of the self. And it's about the guy's breakup. He's talking to his closest friend about the breakup, and the guy gives Vince Vaughn in this, I don't remember his name, but he gives him some insight into how selfish he has been, and insight into why he's had this breakup.
I know. Look, I know you feel bad, but what are you going to do?
I mean, what does she expect from me to want to go with the girl who dumped me?
I don't know. She probably just wanted you to, show her the respect, not standing her up or something.
Who knows? Damn. I should have just said no in the first. I don't know why I didn't call.
But you know what? It's her fault she got hurt. You shouldn't even feel bad about it. She should have expected it from you. You're a fun guy, okay? Everybody likes you. You're the quickest guy I know. Anytime we go out, I have a blast. All right, but, everybody who knows you knows you're going to do what you want to do. And if it's not what the other person wants to do, well, that's their problem.
There's plenty of times I'll do that I don't want to do. That's ridiculous.
Like
no,
when?
that's to say about me.
When have we ever done something you want to do?
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't keep score.
When's the last time we went to a Sox game? The Sox. Not when they're playing the Cubs either. We always do what you want to do, and she always did what you want to do. It's who you are. Everybody thinks that you're their friend, okay? But the fact of the matter is that there's not one person that I know that you trust enough to let close enough that they could hurt you. And her big problem is that you really liked her. I mean, she is the one girl you really liked. And no matter what she did and how hard she tried, you were never going to let your guard down. That poor girl never stood a chance.
That's a discussion about a relationship, but it really goes with most anything we deal with in life, in that, I was somebody, when I got saved, there's a lot of teaching and stuff I got on love, but there was still a lot, the old man that was still in there. And the old man just doesn't go away. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says that we're a new creation in Christ. All things are passed away, all things are new. And I'd look at myself and I'd say, all things aren't new. Now, I think it's from a spiritual standpoint, and you're working towards that goal. Like Danny was talking in the earlier show, that we are to put off the old man. It's telling us to do something about it, but I didn't really know how to do it. But as I began to walk in, desiring to walk more in love, I ended up having to go through a relationship, something like that. I've talked about my breakup in my family, and I think there was a lot of times that I was that guy. I would make everybody think that they were getting what they want, or I would do something, but they would get what they want, but I wasn't really engaged. But I got what I wanted. I got to stay home and watch football if that's what I wanted to do. I got to do the things that I want to do, and it really just gets into that. Are we going to choose, like what Wayne was saying, is it all about me? Is it all about what I get and myself, or is it about others? And there's others to be considered, and obviously God too. He's got a plan for our life. That's where the peace and the real fulfillment you find in life is when you actually are walking that out. But we think we know best. because this is us. So we've always known ourselves, but really we don't know ourselves. I think we know who we've become as we've learned to become selfish as we've lived life.
Thank you. For me, the old self usually comes out most often that I catch it. And to be very honest, sometimes I battle to even care because I feel justified in my anger. You know, we talked about justified on the last show. But whenever I've been inconvenienced, yeah, I really think that I shouldn't be inconvenienced. You know, I just live with that lie. You know, and that's one, whether it's driving, as I've talked about on here, or, you know, the light's too long. Robbie, I hate that light at Blues Creek Road that I have to turn on. It's so long. But, you know, it's just this whole inconvenience. But it really what that is just the old self feeling like something's owed to me that's not owed to me, and living out of that.
Yep.
Right? And so trying to break that. And I do catch myself, and I do try some of the time to pray through it. Sometimes I just sit there and act justified, you know, and it does no good except just make me have a bad day, you know. And so I'm kind of like Groundhog Day. I keep stepping in that same like puddle of water every time. Eventually I'll get past it. But, so Rodney, you have a clip.
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Do you want to play it?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Should I set it up, you think?
Then, yeah, probably. It's probably a lot of our listeners. Well, I don't know. I don't know the demographics of our listeners.
Which one of the two?
Yeah, some of them would have heard it, had seen this show before, and some would have no idea what show you're talking about.
Right. So this is the Rifleman. We have not had a Rifleman clip, I don't believe, before, but this is early
a couple
on.
weeks ago, I thought we did. You brought one like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
That's, man.
Yeah.
My memory. Yeah. I'm the old man here.
You're probably listening to one of your other favorite podcasts.
Uncle Si, come on, buddy.
Yeah. I'm losing it over here.
Yeah, literally, it was like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. You brought a Rifleman clip.
And it got played.
Well, I don't know about that. You did bring it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is early on when Micah Torrance is eventually the marshal of the town, and this is Lucas McCain getting introduced to him, and Micah's basically a drunk that he finds coming out of the saloon. And basically what's happening here is Micah goes into the jail cell for an overnight stay, and this clip picks up then, and then you're going to hear a couple times when Mark, who is Lucas's son, is going to try to enter in and help out Micah because he's basically become a drunk. He used to be a really good marshal down on the border, and he got to the point where he let the gun do the talking instead of him thinking, and he got injured, and his shooting arm is worthless now. And what you're going to see here is here is that you're going to hear some tough love in a couple times coming from Lucas trying to get Micah through this, and of course then they become really best friends, and that's kind of the basis for the show. So go ahead.
Thanks for the lodging, sir. Now, possibly you or your friend here could advance me a few dollars. I seem to be temporarily without funds. I'll pay you back, sir. You can depend on that.
No, you won't. You're a drunk. I wouldn't give you a dime for a drink, but I'll give you a job.
You'll give me a job. Doing what? Swatting flies?
Building fences, mister. Hire out to me, you'll do a man's work, if there's any man left.
Mr. McCain, you just hired yourself a hand. One of them, anyway.
Mark, this is Micah Torrance. He's got to help us build a corral.
He's gonna try. How do you do, Mark?
How do you do, Mr. Torrance?
I'll sleep in the barn, Lucas.
So you can stay here, Micah.
Later. For the next few nights, I'm companion to owls and brother to the dragons.
Can I help, Mr. Torrance?
Do your own work, Mark.
I got visitors, Lucas.
I don't see nobody.
Just a case of the whips and jingles, sonny. I better be getting back to town.
What are the whips and jingles?
Oh, animals of a sort. Come in various shapes and sizes. Pretty big, generally. Now, you wouldn't know it, but I got a big one sitting on my shoulder right now. Saddle me a horse, Lucas.
No.
It won't work, I tell you. I've got to leave.
Start walking. You ought to make town by sunup. You can't help him in this, son. He's got to do it by himself. Now sit down and finish your dinner. Micah used to be a peace officer, son, one of the best. Well, then he got hurt and he went all the way to the bottom, and now he's afraid. He's afraid to carry a gun, so he drinks too much.
Whiskey, you mean?
Yes.
Jane, I'm useless here.
Whiskey make you work better? Supper will.
Out of the mouths of babes.
Yeah, that clip had some stuff I didn't understand at all.
Yeah, because it's chopped up over several minutes. To try to get it down.
It wasn't that. It was some of the sayings. I'm gonna have to go look up some of the sayings. I don't. Owls and dragons and something and something. Yeah, there are a couple. Yeah, there's something in giggles.
We can ask Harold. He was live back then.
I remember when that new thing came out.
Yeah. But the whips and jingles,
Whips and jingles, yeah.
But yeah, so what I wanted to kind of concentrate on was the fact that Lucas is kind of the God character here, trying to get Micah through this period. Micah wants to give up. I'm going to try. I'm going to fight through this, and then as soon as something bad happens, he was out working when Mark tried to enter in and say, "Hey, can I help?" And then many well-meaning Christians will try to help somebody, but yet they are drinking milk still themselves. They're young in the faith. They don't really know what to do, but they want to jump in and do stuff. And people that are sometimes more mature in the faith are going to really help people more by saying, no, well, they're going to have to work through this. We're going to have a deeper conversation. We can't be surface level here. We're going to have to go deep, and talk much more about what's going on in their life. And that's where Lucas, being a mature man here, is like, hey, I've seen people have to fight through this, and he's going to have to do some of the work himself. And that's where you have some of that tough love that comes through in that clip. And I know just trying to make a clip for this show, where do we go typically? YouTube. What do you see on the right-hand side of YouTube? Oh, all these other things you can look at. Well, what's one of them almost always constantly comes as you're scrolling through? There's some beautiful woman, half naked, sitting there looking, saying, "Hey, click on me."
It's not on mine.
And then yeah. You can deny it all you want, Sam, but you have the wording too, right? That wants to lure you in. You got the bait there and all that. It's just constantly there, and that's the whips and jingles for me. It's that, and my old self and my strength. Oh yeah. Oh, let's go over there. I just go click on the first thing. Well, the first thing takes you to the second thing, which gets you to the third. Next thing you know, you're down that path you were talking about last week. Mm-hmm. And it's a fun ride, isn't it? Boy, you just get on, it's a slip and slide. Next thing you know, you're down at the bottom of the hill in the gutter.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, oh, I'm back in here again. But that's there constantly. And the world is screaming, it's putting it out there for you. And there's nothing you can do but in Christ to say no. And honestly, those roller coaster rides before I came to Christ of thinking I had things whipped. Yep, I'm over that. No. But in Christ, it was like a radical change. Had a couple stumbles, and then it's been over. And that's like, oh my gosh, what a relief. Mm-hmm. Just to have that contentment, that peace of heart to know that, okay, I don't have to do this. I can rest on and lean on somebody else to do it for me. Mm-hmm. And Christ is the one that can do it. And
when you were saying, the slide into the gutter, I think it's actually the sewer. Because the gutter filthy. It feels too clean.
Yeah, it's a filthy gutter.
Yeah. It's not rainwater that you're in.
No, it's back to what Wayne was talking about.
Yeah, that we can't really say.
Yeah.
Anyway, Harold, do you have anything you want to share with us? We haven't heard from you yet today.
Well, when I'm thinking about the old man, there's a way I can identify him. It's like when I play pickleball and I sweat. If I take those clothes and I throw them in the closet, and then I go back and I get them out to wear, there's a stink.
Yeah.
And when that old man comes back to get on this old man, there's a stink. And that's how I can identify it. And trust me, guys, getting old, don't take it away. It's still coming after you. Mm-hmm. You still have to fight it, regardless of how old you get. Or at least that's been my experience. And I'm just a few days away from 81.
Wow. Yeah, thank you, Harold. That was very good advice. David, we're going to get to your clip in just a second, so I'm going to go ahead and... But I want to actually talk to Andy for a second. Andy, as much grief as I give you all the time about everything, the orphan spirit literally is what happens when we let the old self take over, like the old man, the old flesh.
Yep.
Right? It's when we walk in our own strength and we don't walk in strength with God. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So for years, this was a problem. And as you when I started going on the masculine journey and coming to the boot camps, I continually heard people talking about, the new name, your identity, and then sonship. And all those things are tied to who you are, who your father is. And you can tell people if you don't have this thing settled in your heart of that you are a new man and that you are a son of God, which it constantly talks about in the New Testament. If you don't have settled in your heart, I think that's what the biggest struggle is with the old man, is you're in a different family and you've got to identify with that family. And it's made it so much easier to me. And then as part of that process, as you understand that God, Christ, is truly doing these things in you. But I was telling Joe, we were talking about stuff yesterday. There's a point now that I do not, it's kind of what Rodney was talking about too, I don't want to go back to that place. I'm not saying that I don't struggle with the old man, but does not have the hold on me that it used to. And I'm not bragging about it. Paul tells us to put off that old man. So if we can't put off that old man, he wouldn't tell us not to. So, identity is the fuel for all that. I know who I am in God and as a son.
Thank you. Now, David, you want to tell us a little bit about your clip?
Yeah, so it's from the movie E.T. It's the point in the movie when Elliot, the little boy, is crying over E.T., as Sam pointed out, is extraterrestrial.
Yeah, E.T.
Yep. So it's been a long time since I've watched this movie, but we can just go ahead and play it and come back and talk about it.
A lot of phoning home here.
Yeah, and I'll talk about that as well.
Okay.
It must be dead. Because I don't know how to feel. I can't feel anything anymore. You've gone someplace else now. I believe in you all my life, every day. E.T., I love you.
E.T. phone home. Phone home.
Does this mean they're coming?
Yes. E.T. phone home. E.T. phone home. E.T. phone home. Phone home. Phone. E.T. phone home. Phone home, E.T. phone home, E.T. phone home, E.T. phone home, phone home,
Would you like the flowers?
So yes, I think Andy, you were counting how many times did he say phone home?
Yeah, I lost count.
He probably has the easiest lines in history.
Yeah, I don't think he was calling for lines.
Yeah.
It was
if in doubt, phone home.
I think it was about 30 or something.
It had to get up there, definitely. One of my things with the phone home, as I said I would come back to, in my opinion, the way I look at that is our phone home, when we're going back into our old self, is prayer with the Father, right? And I'm not talking about necessarily the prayer that you learn when you're growing up in church. I'm talking about that intimate conversation that you have with them that sometimes can be very uncomfortable, but comforting at the same time. I know for me, this clip really spoke to me as far as like when I died to myself and the emotions and the feelings I had when I came into my new identity. And, you know, I tried throughout my entire life. I can look back now at little segments where, you know, I thought I was doing that. I was going to church. I was getting active in it. But ultimately, you know, my flesh would get back a hold of me and I'd pull back out of church. The shame would set in. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be there. It's not where I'm supposed to be. And then for me personally, I really was able to step out of that old self of mine at my first boot camp, which was last November, the last fall boot camp, coming up on a year on it. And you know, those emotions with, you know, where Elliot was crying at the end is different than the crying at the very beginning. The crying at the very beginning was sad, which, you know, at that point in time when you're going through that, you are sad. And at the very end, it was more of a hysterical crying as a happy cry. And I can remember specifically sitting in the woods. I was not too far behind Robbie over there at the outdoor worship center there at the grounds that we're at. And, you know, I mean, I was crying out there because I realized that, you know, ultimately, if you were able to see that scene, you would see all the flowers dead and around him, basically saying, you know, life around him was dead in his old self. And then when he came back, everything started kind of flourishing again and coming back to life. So ultimately, I could see where, you know, I was hurting the people in my life, even if they didn't realize it. I knew I was. And then I was able to come back from that. And it's still a work in progress. I mean, we all still sometimes have one foot in, one foot out. You know, we're never going to be perfect, but, you know, every day I definitely strive to be the better self, or be my new identity versus my old self.
Thank you. I liked what you had to say. That was very good.
I mean, I only threw in the boot camp so you play my clip.
Well, that was the whole reason, yeah. That and phone home. But we do have a boot camp coming up. It's coming up November 17th through 20th. You would go to masculinejourney.org to register. We'd love to have you there. It's going to be an amazing time. And before that, we have the entrenchment, which, Robbie, I know you want to tell us one more time, so let's get you a microphone so you can tell us the most important thing about the entrenchment.
FREE.
For some of you, that's the most important thing. For really, what the most important thing is for you to go, so that God will work with your heart there, and He can really do some amazing things for you, and you don't have to pay anything. How much better does it get than that?
FREE, just saying.
Exactly. MasculineJourney.org. Go register. We'll talk with you next week.
This is the Truth Network.